Welcome to the Chapter 8 Test Review Answer Key Explanation video for geometry. So obviously, again, should be used to this by now, but as I go through this review and walk you through the problems, please make sure that on your copy of the review, you're adding extra notes, making changes to any incorrect work or answers, and making sure that work is shown so that you understand the content and this can be used to help you on the test. So starting out with numbers 1 and 2, it asks us to find the sum, so the total, the sum of the measures of the interior angles of each figure. Show your work. So no matter how many sides a figure has, our formula again to find the sum of the interior angle measure is n minus 2 in parentheses. N stands for your number of sides. So number of sides minus 2, and then multiplied by 180. So our first figure is a heptagon. Heptagons have 7 sides. So we would set it up as 7 minus 2 in parentheses multiplied by 180. So 5 multiplied by 180 tells us a heptagon's total interior angle sum is 900 degrees. Then we move to a 16gon. So again, 16gon means 16 sides. So our setup, n minus 2 times 180, 16 minus 2 is 14. 14 multiplied by 180 gives us 2,520 degrees. Now for 3 and 4, they give us the sum of the interior angle measure. So they gave us the total. They want us to classify the figure by its number of sides. So we're still using that formula, n minus 2 in parentheses multiplied by 180 equals our total. Now we're just working it to find n, the number of sides. So for 3,960 degrees, our setup would be n minus 2 in parentheses times 180 equals 3,960. Then we're undoing the order of operations to solve for n. So divide both sides by 180. And then we have n minus 2 equals 22. So to get n alone, we would add 2 to each side. And that tells us the number of sides is 24. So that would be a 24gon. Then with number 4, we have 2,700 degrees. So n minus 2 in parentheses times 180 equals 2,700. Divide by our 180 again. N minus 2 equals 15. Add the 2, and our number of sides is 17. So our figure would be a 17gon. Now, going down to 5 and 6, they want us to find the value of x based on the measurements already given. So looking at the first figure here, I know it's a hexagon. It has 6 sides. So I want to figure out the total interior angle measure for a hexagon. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 times 180 tells me my total should be 720 degrees. Now they already gave us 5 different angle measures, and we're trying to find x, which is part of the 6th angle. So if I do 720 minus all the angles we know added up, that will leave us with the measurement of our missing angle, which is x plus 10. So 720 minus all these angles added up is 107. So 107 equals x plus 10, our missing angle. Subtract 10 from each side, and that tells us x is 97. Now in 6, we're looking at exterior angles of a polygon. And anytime we're dealing with the exterior angles, we know the sum is 360 degrees. So if I do 360 minus the 3 angles I know, I'll be left with the measure of x minus 7. So 360 minus the 3 we know equals x minus 7. 360 minus these 3 leaves us with 143. equaling x minus 7. So we add 7 to each side, and x would equal 150. Moving down to 7, 8, and 9. We know we're dealing with parallelograms, so they want us to find the value of each variable in the parallelogram. Show our work. So in a parallelogram, we know that diagonals bisect each other, so the 6x would equal the 3x plus 9. So then we subtract 3x from each side, and 3x equals 9, divide by 3, and x equals 3. Then with number 8, in a parallelogram, we know opposite angles are congruent or equal. So 60 would equal x plus 23. So we simply subtract 23 from each side, and x equals 37. And then in our last problem, we have y and x, so we'll be solving for two variables. The 6y is half of this diagonal, the other half is 12. So 6y equals 12, and the 3x is half of this diagonal, other half is 15, so 3x equals 15. So to figure out y, we divide by 6, and y equals 2. To figure out x, we divide by 3, and x equals 5. So in a parallelogram, we know opposite angles are congruent. The diagonals are bisecting each other, so they're split into halves. And if we had consecutive angles, like right here in 60, consecutive angles add up to equal 180. Moving down to number 10. It first asks us to classify the special quadrilateral, meaning give it its specific name, then find the values of x and y. So first, looking at my image, I have 4 right angles telling me opposite sides are parallel. And with the 4 right angles, by definition, that would be a rectangle. Then to figure out the measures of x, we know the x plus 14 would equal the 3x plus 2. And to set up for y, 2y plus 1 equals 4y minus 5. So let's do the x setup first. So if x plus 14 equals 3x plus 2, we want to get our x's to one side, so subtract x from each side. 14 would equal 2x plus 2. Subtract the 2 from each side. 12 equals 2x. Divide by 2, and 6 equals x. Then to figure out y, 2y plus 1 equals 4y minus 5. Get our y's to one side, so subtract 2y from each side of the equals. 1 equals 2y minus 5. Add the 5, so 6 would equal 2y. Divide by 2, and 3 equals y. So make sure on the test, if you see the word classify, that means you're naming the figure. Now moving down to 11, 12, 13. They want us to find the missing parts of the different quadrilaterals. So if I look at number 11, I know what I have here is a trapezoid, and I know MN is the mid-segment. So the mid-segment of a trapezoid is 1/2 multiplied by the 2 bases added together. So MN, this mid-segment, would be 1/2 of the 2 bases, 8 plus 14. So 8 plus 14 is 22. Half of 22 tells me MN is 11 units. Now in the set number 12 here, what I'm looking at here is an isosceles trapezoid. We have one set of parallel sides. These other sides, the legs, are congruent. So if it's an isosceles trapezoid, I know consecutive angles like B and C here that are not the base angles add up to 180. So the measure angle B is 180 minus the measure angle C. So to figure out B, we would just do 180 minus the 111. So the measure of angle B is 69 degrees. And then in 13, I know I'm looking at a kite. So JKLM here is a kite, and I know JK is the same as JM, and KL is the same as ML. So what that also tells me, because this is a kite, I know angle K here and M here are congruent. So their measures are equal. Because JKLM is a four-sided figure, I know my total interior angles equal 360. So if I do 360 minus angle J and L, I'm left with the measure of angle K plus the measure of angle M. Because K and M are the same, I'm just going to label them both X. So 360 minus the 118 equals X plus X. So 242 equals 2X. Divide by 2, and X would equal 121. So we know the measure of angle K is 121 degrees. And then moving down to our last three problems. This is where you're going to want to make sure you have your notes with our different theorems, definitions, and properties, because we need to give the most specific possible name for each quadrilateral. So if I look at 14, they gave us the indicators here showing that we have two sets of parallel opposite sides. So I know opposite sides are parallel. Then on the inside, they gave me these two angles are congruent, meaning these two angles are also congruent because they're vertical angles. So all four angles on the inside are congruent. What that tells me is then my opposite sides of this figure are also congruent. So top's congruent to bottom, the left is congruent to the right, and because all of these have the same interior angle, it would actually be that all of these then, so we could add a second hash here and a second hash here, that all four outsides are also congruent. So if we have opposite sides parallel, four congruent outsides, we don't know these angle measures. So if they're not right angles, we can't say that it's a square. So our only option would be a rhombus. In 15, the kite. I know it's a kite because I have two sides that measure 12, two sides that measure 14. So I have two pairs of consecutive sides being congruent. I don't know anything else, so that leaves me with the definition of a kite. And then in 16, we know it's a rectangle because we have opposite sides here and here being parallel, and the top and bottom are parallel. And then I also know the sides are meeting at right angles. I don't know if the top, bottom, left, and right are all congruent to each other, so I can't call it a square. So we have to stop at calling this figure a rectangle. So again, hopefully as I went through this, you made changes to your attempt at the review, took some extra notes. If you have any questions in between watching this video and the test, please come and ask and we'll make sure to clarify so you're ready for your Chapter 8 test.